Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moodie.
And I am an exhausted Wajahat Ali. I feel like the lady in Titanic. It's been 80 years, but it's only been a week and a half.
Correct. It's actually been 9 days.
Oh, yeah, 9 days.
nine days. And I feel like we are living in dog years because, to your point, the 9 days feel like at least 9 months. And the funny thing is, the new administration, the new regime hasn't even fucking started yet. And this is how we're feeling. So, Waj, you and I, it is our first time, really connecting since,
Right.
last week. So tell us, how you feeling? You're exhausted, but like,
I did not shed a tear. I have all these liberal MAGA trolls following me saying, cry lib, cry harder. And I'm like, first of all, why aren't you happy? You won the presidency. Republicans are going to keep the House. Republicans are going to keep the Senate. Are you ever happy? And the answer is no, because they exist to own the libs. Then they say, cry harder. And I say, I didn't shed a tear. I'm not a crying person. I am, however, very saddened. I'm saddened because I see what's about to happen in the United States of America. I see what's about to happen to my country. I see what's about to happen to so many communities. I see what's about to happen to union workers and people of color and women. These rubes, these marks of con men who decided to vote for Donald Trump because of the price of their eggs. And these poor saps, my God, Danielle, they're about to get crushed. And not only are they going to get crushed, the self-imposed decapitation of United States power, military, intelligence, the fact that, we're going to talk about the no good, horrible, terrible, atrocious, terrifying cabinet picks so far. Not surprised or shocked at all, folks. I have some friends, people that we know on Twitter, they're like, man, I wasn't shocked, but then Gaetz shocked me. I wasn't shocked, but RFK shocked me. And to which I say, why? Why are you shocked? Where have you been for the past 9 years? I'm not shocked by a single pick. Exactly the people who I thought he would pick. I thought he was just speaking. Not me. When I said that he wasn't going to leave in 2020, I got laughed at and ridiculed. There was a chorus of us, Danielle. I think you were a part of the chorus. And the establishment and moderates were like, you have Trump derangement syndrome. This is not even MAGA. These are our colleagues in the Acela, New York to DC pathway.
Corridor.
Yeah. He didn't leave. I said the Republican Party would not moderate. Oh, once he's gone, they'll moderate. The adults will take over. I take him literally and seriously when he says he wants to terminate the Constitution, be a dictator for a day. When he said 2 days before the election, I should have never stepped down. And so, am I shocked or surprised by any of this? No, Danielle. Am I saddened? I am, because a part of me, Danielle, I'll be honest, and I think we should talk about how we feel about this moment. And don't worry, folks, we're going to talk about, the breaking news also. But a part of me, there were moments of anger because, and maybe there's some sustained anger right now. It was 2016. I went back to 2016 and checked my replies. I was very empathetic. I was like, maybe y'all didn't know. Maybe I missed something. It's been 9 years, Danielle. This mother effer was president for 4 years. He has not hidden anything. He's a convicted criminal, twice impeached vulgarian, held liable for raping a woman. He's a fraudster. His final month of the campaign spread rumors about Haitian immigrants, repeated neo-Nazi conspiracies, mocked Puerto Ricans, mocked women, promised and threatened violence against people, promised tariffs, said on Joe Rogan, the most beautiful word in the English language is tariffs, said he would deport people. He literally told you everything. And Americans, including a lot of people of color, were like, but my eggs. And then other people were like, Kamala Harris is a black and she is a woman. And other people were like, I listen to Joe Rogan. And I get it, the disinformation, and we're gonna unpack this. But after 9 years, you choose this man. Then, Danielle, I say, you chose your own pharaoh. And how do I save a country that is committed to its own self-destruction? And you asked me a simple question. I started ranting, but I'm at this moment right now where, because I'm not a sociopath, I pray for the country. I pray for the people who are about to get effed, which includes a lot of Trump voters. Danielle, you're about to get effed. All of us are about to go through it. All of us. Uh, but I'm like Batman when it comes to, for 9 years, I thought, even though I talk a certain way, I reach out, try to understand, I can't reach out to someone. I don't want to reach out to someone, Danielle, after 9 years. They're like, hey, politics are politics. Let's just be friends again. I'm like, you voted for a guy who literally says people who look like me come from shithole countries, wants to deport families, promoted neo-Nazi conspiracies against us, and wants us to suffer. No. And they're like, what? Why are you so sensitive? And then I said, Trump lost in 2020. Like, shut up, you pedophile cuck. How dare you? Trump is going to get you. And I'm like, okay, bye. And then they come after us. Hey, come back. I'm like, bye. And I feel like Batman at the end of Batman Begins, for those who appreciate this reference, you're my people. He's talking to Ra's al Ghul. They're in a train that's about to crash. And Batman looks at him and says, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you either. And he saves himself and his loved ones. You ask me a simple question, that's where I'm at. How about you, Danielle?
Well, the funny thing is that there are no simple responses to simple questions anymore. And I think, to answer how am I, following the election, following that night, I did not cry for, I think, days. And I really didn't. There was just this eerie sense of numbness that I had, and that I still kind of move in between. But I have cried recently, and it really is about the fear that I have for myself and my family and my friends, the fear that I have for the Black community, for the queer community, for the trans community, for undocumented people, the fear that I have of seeing loved ones marched into camps, the fear that I have of watching a country that has never loved me back, but still I had faith and possibility in, be turned into a shell of itself and have the most unequipped, ill-equipped, unqualified, disturbing, disgusting people taking over the reins of our powerful and important institutions. And the thing that I said this week on the Danielle Moodie show is that what also pains me in this moment is that America has got to be one of the most self-centered countries in the world, because while we are concerned about ourselves and how elections affect us, the reality is that the rest of the world watches our elections because our elections have implications on what their futures look like as well. We don't sit around and watch, France's election and say to ourselves, "Oh fuck." Like if Le Pen, beats her trial and gets into office, like, we as Americans are screwed. No, we just look over at them and we're like, that sucks. And then we go to Target and keep on pushing. Right. But however,
Daniel, it's that what you just described is echoed in that famous saying, America sneezes, the world catches a cold.
The world catches a cold, but this time America is going to sneeze. The world is going to catch COVID, the flu, and Ebola all at the same fucking time.
And measles.
And measles, and polio. And so it's like I find myself sometimes wrapped in my emotion of fear. And then I have to get back to myself. And I posted this on the YouTube channel page, where a writer from Talking Points Memo posted, had a really good piece entitled "The Most Pernicious Anticipatory Obedience Hides in Plain Sight," and telling us not to just acquiesce, right, to this idea that, well, Hitler is here and there's nothing that we can do about it. And, and not to get into this doomed space, this hopeless, sad, grief-stricken place that allows us and tells us that, like, we don't have any power, right? And, while I am still disgusted at 50% of the country having voted against, the other 50%'s right to exist, I don't also want to lay down. Like I continue to say on the Danielle Moodie show, I will continue to be here doing this work for as long as it is safe and as long as it is legal, because I do not want to put myself or my family in jeopardy. For the sheer desire to like pop off, right? I think that independent media is really important in this moment as we're getting ready to experience a tornado and barrage of lies, deceit, corruption, and misinformation. But yeah, I'm like most people, Waj. I'm on a wave of emotions
Yeah.
every day.
And
Today I'm feeling a little bit better than I did yesterday, but who knows how I'll feel at 5 o'clock this evening.
no, we're in the same boat. And thank you to our community who comes along and is growing with us, especially as we are trying to grow this channel. And I do believe, Danielle, you're right, is that I've seen a spike in subscriptions to the Left Hook. I hope you've seen a spike in subscriptions to your page.
Absolutely.
There is a disgust with a majority of people who see that the establishment bent the knee, was complicit, did both sides, is guilty of normalizing insane washing Trump. We never did that. And so, if I may, if you're watching right now, take a second, like this video, subscribe to Danielle's channel. If you can, subscribe to the Left Hook, and then share this video once it's gone. The algorithm gods, folks, it goes a long way. And some of you have given us donations. We saw a $10 already. Those go a long way. We are all on Inshallah money. We've been doing this for 2-3 years because we love this country. Seriously, everyone thinks we're rich. We're not. If you knew how little money we made. So we try to keep all this content free without paywall. And I'm with you, Danielle. I think we're always honest with you. We're in a yes and. We're in a yes and portion of our lives. We will never submit. I'll never submit. I will never kneel. I'll never submit. I'll never give obedience, bayah, as we say in Arabic, to a tyrant. I will always call out the bullshit. I have for 9 years. I've lost a lot of opportunities. Danielle has, but hopefully I've kept my integrity. If the shit show becomes shittier, which I think it will, you will need truth tellers, people who don't sane wash, people who call it like it is. Danielle and I will do that. And because we have families, and because we're middle-aged, and because we care about our mental health, we realize, you know what? We can't destroy ourselves like we did the past 9 years. You have to pace yourself. You have to take care of your mentals, your spirit, your family, your community. And your community are those people who actually have your back. It's about reciprocity. We consider you part of our community. I hope you consider us part of your community. We got to take care of each other. And inshallah, slowly but surely, it's going to be a long walk. Hopefully we will overcome. And if we can't, Danny, I was asking you this. I'm going to bring it up before we get into the cabinet. If the ship is sinking, and you're on the ship, and you do an analysis, and you go, I don't have the time, the energy, and the means to save the ship, and even if I could, it would be too much. It wouldn't be worth it, right? The input versus the output. Do you then abandon the ship? Do you try to save the ship? Or do you save as many people as you can, realizing the ship is going to go down? I ask you.
And this is, what we were discussing before, which is before we came on air, which is that like, I want to, and my work has been about saving the people that want to be saved, about giving an opportunity and giving the truth to people who want to hear it. I am no longer in a position, right, where I can decide that I'm going to put on my engineer's hat and try and put the ship back together as it's sinking, right? And then put people on my back who refuse to swim but can, and try and get to safer shores. Do you know what I'm saying?
Stabbing you in the neck.
Right. Like I can't do that. And I think that the last 9 years has proven that we can do this work for as long as we can, for as long as it is safe and we are able to do it, but like we're not doing it at the expense of our mental health, our physical health, and safety anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, again, that is why folks see a lot of Black women in particular on social media that are saying, y'all got it this time, we're going to rest. And it's 100% the truth. You can't stand on the front lines being a warrior for justice, and when you look behind you, you realize that you're alone. Right.
Can I ask you, Danielle? You went there, and I wanted to ask you, but having with the gray hair, I've heard the sentiment from the black community, because the black community has always been at the forefront, and black women in particular have always been the moral center of this country, trying their best to save it from itself. But this time around, what you just mentioned, I've never seen anything like this, where there's almost a collective, I'm done. Yes. What was it about this time? And of course, I'm asking you to speak on behalf of all black people.
Yeah. I appreciate the responsibility. No, I think that this time, what it was, on top of the work that black women as the base of the Democratic Party have done every single cycle, is that we watched a more than qualified Black and Asian woman get dragged through the mud, and people choose racism and choose misogyny, and choose an adjudicated rapist and a grifter and a liar, and choose to drink poison rather than take a glass of water from a Black and Asian woman. And we were like, you know what? We wanted to believe that America had moved to a place of deep reflection and consciousness and awareness about where we have been and where we are headed. But when you decided collectively, right, to say fuck you to a qualified Black and Asian woman and have the audacity to question her qualifications, but we're about to have a Secretary of State that is from Fox fucking News, right?
That's Secretary of Defense.
That's the Secretary of Defense, right? That you're about to have a person be the Attorney General of these United States, that whose biggest client or work that he's done as a lawyer is get people fishing fucking permits. But you want to talk about qualifications, and we're going to have a Russian plant as a fucking national intelligence director, right? So in that moment, when you saw America that night for who it is, Black women, myself included, said, I am actually done, right? Yeah. Like, I am here speaking because I'm speaking to people in this community that we are building, and people that want the truth and will listen to the truth. But am I going to twist myself into knots trying to understand the mindset of people that want to drink bleach and are willingly saying, yes, Donald Trump set me on fire, it'll keep me warm? Like, nah, y'all are on your own with those people. I'm not trying to get inside of their heads or convince them any fucking more. And, we also know that Black people and people of color will experience the torment and cruelty of this administration more than any other group. Everybody will feel it, but Black people always feel it the most.
That's right.
Right? So if we know that to be true, then guess what? Right? We're going to take care of ourselves and our families and our friends. We're no longer trying to take care of all of you. And as a matter of fact, somebody said, I did an interview on Woke AF that is up right now with a healer and a scholar named Stefan Blackberry. And he said, this time around, America can nurse their own goddamn baby.
Ooh.
And that comes from a sentiment of how enslaved African women were forced to nurse the babies of their white enslavers above
rapists
providing nutrition, right, to their own goddamn children. And so he said, this time around, America can nurse its own goddamn baby. And I said,
you know what? I let me share a sentiment. I've been telling people, Black people have been through so much in this country. They fought for a country that has never fought for them. They were enslaved. They were segregated, oppressed, still are. And so many of them died. But, I've been researching for a book, and I've been talking to Black scholars, and they said it was faith in God, faith in ourselves, love that kept us together as a community, that we were able to survive so much. And think about it. People are, literally Black people were not seen as human beings, folks. Imagine what Black people have gone through. So this America that has betrayed you has always betrayed Black people. And I think there's some lessons. If you wanted to learn some lessons in resilience and love and hope and coping and strength, you gotta go talk to some Black folks. But give them money and buy them lunch, because they ain't gonna do it for free this time around. And I don't blame Black folks at all. I don't blame them at all. And from the Muslim Pakistani perspective, I gave 2 talks at 2 events. 400 people at Houston last Friday, 750 people last Saturday, Washington, D.C. I asked the audience, who here voted for Trump? Hands went up, Danielle. And yesterday, one of the people who was in my speech, he was at another event. He goes, Wajahat, I don't understand. You seem so concerned about the future. And you said the next 10 years will be rough. Why? I voted for Trump. I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy. It'll be fine. Rich, wealthy, middle-aged, Pakistani American businessman. So I said, you're rich. You'll be fine. He goes, no, it'll all be fine. And I said, what about the poor, the middle class? When Donald Trump's tariffs get enacted, the cost of everything's going to go up average of $2,400, Danielle. So for the people who said, my eggs, your eggs, your goods, your clothing.
Eggs are about to cost $15.
Yeah, right? And then once he goes after the undocumented and their citizen children, which he will, and he deports even a fraction of them, what's going to happen to local economies overnight, Danielle? So he sat there. You could tell he had never thought about this. You know what he said to me? He leaned in and he says, so I'll have to pay my gardener a bit more. So what? And I just want to tell y'all that greed is endemic in all communities. Disinformation, apathy is endemic in all communities. And when I heard that, Danielle, I just have to share this with you. Don't worry, folks. We had a whole schedule of what we were talking about, but we went into this. We'll probably go a bit longer if you're with us. We have a lot to talk about. But when I heard that, and when I talked to otherwise intelligent friends, and I found out that they voted for Stein or didn't vote for Harris or voted for Trump and their reasonings, Danielle, I was like, you know what? Sometimes people just have to go through it, Danielle. Sometimes the kid just has to put their hand on the stove. I got 3 of them. Sometimes you warn the kid.
But you don't have to bring my fucking hand to the stove, right? Because I already knew it was hot. Well, so I don't want to be. I didn't want to be dragged to the burner.
Yeah, but I'm the dad, and I'm like, don't put your hand on the stove. Don't put your hand on the stove. Don't put your hand on the stove. Yeah, put your hand on the stove. I love you, but didn't I tell you? So this is the F around. We effed around last week, Danielle, where a majority of Americans voted for Kamala Harris. And we don't even have to wait 2 months to find out, Danielle. The find out happened this week with Trump's cabinet picks. We don't even have to wait a year. Literally 1 week, Danielle. Here is the find out portion of the show. It's all entertainment, folks. Here's the find out portion of the show. Danielle, your thoughts with some of these picks.
So let me tell you this, and I will say this. I don't need to find out. I can find out without fucking around, and I have always known, right? So it's everybody else, and this is why I wish that I could have a fucking carve out for those of us who've always known and been like, y'all take this, go ahead.
Please, can I join? Please.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, those that have known, I'm like, just put a sticker on my door that says, didn't need to find out, already knew, and like, y'all can have this. But this is what I think about Donald Trump's display of the clown cabinet, right? Which somebody said on social media that this is not a cabinet, it is a junk drawer. And I said, oh, that's 100% right. Is that the thing about white delusion, right? The thing about white delusion is that they have this idea that everyone else must move through these obstacles and must move through life in a way where we have to work twice as hard as they do to get half as what it is that they have. And what Donald Trump has put on display is that all these people needed to do was to be white. And wealthy and well-connected. They don't need any qualifications, because this is how you know, right? That white delusion is driven by ego, right? Driven by this idea that, like, I don't have to prove a fucking thing to you. I can put up a hamster to be the Secretary of State. And
white
what
hamster.
Are you going to do? And what are you going to do about it? Right? So the reality here is that, this white delusion is on full display with the people that we are seeing. Let's look at who the new leader of Health and Human Services is going to be. These are real photos, y'all. This is RFK Jr., an anti-vaxxer, a person who believes falsely that vaccines cause autism, which they fucking do not, that believes that somehow water can cause you to become transgender, which it does not. This is the man who picks up and eats roadkill, has worms in his brain, that is now going to be in charge of the health and safety and well-being of everyone in these United States. Right. And so folks, again, who think that they are just going to go off with their life and be fine, everything's going to be fine, like the wealthy Pakistani man. Well, let's see how fine he feels when he goes to turn on his water faucet. Let's see how fine he feels, right, when he goes to the grocery store to go pick up his meat, right, that no longer has FDA grades on it. Right? Because they believe that sickness is somehow a part of our minds and not actually something that is real. And they believe that vaccines are here to harm us and have not saved millions of lives. So these people that think that they are going to protect themselves, unless you are sitting on your own fucking natural well, I'm pretty sure that this motherfucker, who is now going to be in charge of Health and Human Services, will probably kill more people in this country in the next year than COVID did. And that is not me being hyperbolic.
Well, speaking about not being hyperbolic, this is a fact, folks, and people don't know this. RFK gave advice, anti-vax advice, and was very influential in Samoa. There was a deadly measles outbreak in Samoa in 2019 that claimed the lives of 83 people, mostly children, that RFK Jr. is connected to. 83 people, mostly children, in Samoa died because of an unnecessary measles outbreak that could have been averted with vaccines. We just went through COVID. There are still variants. When this mother effer is the director of Health and Human Services, and there is another variant, Danielle, what do you think is going to happen to our kids? And measles has become great again in the past 10 years because the World Health Organization has said that anti-vax disinformation is a top 10 global threat, right? And so that was before COVID, the World Health Organization was talking about vaccine hesitancy being a big threat. Measles is becoming great again. Polio is coming back. Whooping cough, rubella, the new strain of COVID. Also, this guy promoted insane anti-Semitic conspiracies about how Jews were protected from COVID. Oh, yeah. And he had sex with all these women outside of wedlock, wrote about it in detail in his diary. His first wife read it, was allegedly so disturbed by it that she killed herself. And oh, yeah, this guy apparently had some sexting scandal with Olivia Nuzzi, the New York Magazine political reporter this past year. And this is the guy they chose. Of all the... Actually, I'm going to take it back. I was thinking about what's the worst pick. Because I think about this.
We're not there yet.
But I'm like, there's also Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard. There's a few more. So that's just the first pick, folks. That's just the first pick.
Okay, so you just brought him
Matt
up.
Gaetz. There you go.
Here is Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz has been under investigation by both the Department of Justice, who, because Merrick Garland is a waste of skin and space, opened up an investigation into Matt Gaetz, told the House Ethics Committee to stop their investigation while the Department of Justice was investigating him for sex trafficking, for a whole host of things that he was doing. And the House Ethics Committee, which had opened up their case back in 2021, put it on hold. We're about to vote on the release of the report. And then he resigned and was named to be next up for Attorney General. Well, the young woman, who is now of legal age, she testified before the House panel, said that she was 17 years old when he had sex with her, when he brought her to a drug-fueled party, and that there were witnesses, and I say witnesses or accomplices, to what is rape, because she's 17 years old, and they all knew it. So here is Matt Gaetz, a man that it has been under investigation for years now. And anyone, if you go down into his little part of the universe in Pensacola, will tell you they know all about it.
That's right.
And so again, birds of a Epstein feather flock together. And that
can I
is
tell you the breaking news?
Attorney General is. Please.
As of 39 minutes ago, Mike Johnson, who you all know, is the Republican leader of the House, says he does not think the House Ethics Committee report into Matt Gaetz should be released.
Doesn't matter. It's going to be leaked.
You think so?
I do.
I hope so. It has to be. If Democrats don't leak that report, they're useless. Like Merrick Garland level of useless.
In general. So here, let's go up next. Tulsi Gabbard. Walk us through, Waj.
Oh, all right. Tulsi Gabbard was promoted on Russian television 2 days ago as Russia's girlfriend. Russia itself is talking about how she's compromised, folks. I'm not making that up. Just go watch Russian television. Pro-Assad, pro-Putin talking points. She's never met a Putin talking point she hasn't repeated. Within the Republican community, within Democratic community, within the intelligence community, people see Tulsi Gabbard as quote-unquote compromised, either as a witting or unwitting idiot of Russia, anti-Ukraine, a person who is thoroughly unqualified for the job that she has been tapped, which is the Director of National Intelligence, the person overseeing all of our intelligence communities. And apparently, a report came out yesterday that some folks within our intelligence communities are so disturbed that they would rather self-decapitate. They would rather essentially firewall themselves than actually report to Tulsi Gabbard. Now, if they do that, that means it's a self-decapitation strike, meaning in order to protect our agents, our CIA agents on the ground, our spies, our information, we would rather cut off our leg so we don't go out and run into the field where Tulsi Gabbard could snipe us or have Russia snipe us, right? That's how terrified intelligence community members are within the United States intelligence community, right? Our elected officials are terrified by this. You've heard people say, why her? And the reason it's her, if you notice a trend, first of all, the most inexperienced people. Second of all, the most cruel people. Third of all, people with a history of sexual assault or sexual harassment. We're going to go down the list. You're going to see that. Number 4, if you've noticed, people who somehow parrot a lot of pro-Putin talking points. Have you noticed that, Danielle? So if you're talking about strength and security, you're having a person that Russia itself says is our girlfriend, mockingly. What do you think is going to happen in national security? What do you think is going to happen to our law enforcement? What do you think is going to happen to our intelligence collecting abilities? And what do you think our enemies, our numerous enemies abroad, are saying right now? They're pointing and laughing. That's my take on Tulsi Gabbard.
Let's listen to this.
Disagree with
this is Elizabeth Warren
on, and I haven't decided yet about voting for him, but he is qualified. He has experience. We may have differences that would cause me to say I don't think that he should be Secretary of State, and we'll go through that. We'll listen to the hearings. I want to hear very carefully from him. But what we're talking about with people like Matt Gaetz is very different from what we're talking about with people like Marco Rubio, and we just have to keep that in mind. But do understand with Matt Gaetz, and you've already made this point, he's not the only one out there who is unqualified and who raises whole questions like Tulsi Gabbard does. You really want her to have all of the secrets of the United States and our defense intelligence agencies when she has so clearly been in Putin's pocket? That just has to be a hard.
And here's the thing is Elizabeth Warren is saying, we'll wait to see what happens in these hearings. And mind you, that Donald Trump does not want to have hearings. He does not want to have public Senate confirmations. He wants these people that he chose, that he has handpicked to be appointed during recess, which the president of the United States is able to do. Basically, Donald Trump wants to do what Barack Obama was too much of a fucking punk to do with Merrick Garland, which is just call an emergency recess, appoint all of these people one after the other. You don't have to go through the public hearings, and not even that we think that these people would not be confirmed is not the point, because they own the Senate. Right. So we know that they are most likely going to be confirmed, but it's that the American public at least has an idea of who these people are and what they've been up to, and that you listen to their responses. Because again, like we are saying, these are some of the most unqualified people
dangerous
for
people.
a job, and dangerous people. Who is up next? Okay, go ahead.
Who's up? No, who do you got next? Because I was gonna.
Next is Pete Hegseth.
Okay, I'm glad.
It's Pete Hegseth, the Fox and Friends host, who is about to be the Secretary of Defense. Tell us a little bit, Waj, about Pete Hegseth and this post that we have right here and why this one is important.
Pete Hegseth has been tapped to be Secretary of Defense. He is a veteran, just like many of our friends who have served, but not in any way, shape, or form qualified. He is a person who bragged on air as a Fox host that he hasn't washed his hand in 10 years, doesn't want women to be in combat, almost killed a dude with an axe. I don't know if you saw that clip, killed the musician with an axe. We laugh about that, but if you look at his book, American Crusader, and if you look at his tattoos, they are white Christian nationalist tattoos. So imagine if there was a Muslim jihadi saying American jihadi with Muslim jihadist tattoos. How would we feel about that person, Danielle, becoming the Secretary of Defense? And in addition to that, look at his ideology. If you read his book, he says, and Jeff Charlotte did a fantastic read of his book and did a great thread. Go check out the thread where he said, yes, liberals, leftists, Democrats are domestic enemies. He wasn't saying it as a figurative speech. He supports paramilitary forces, militias. He supports the language that the leftists should be rooted out. He's pro-Civil War. He said he's more extreme. He's more extreme than most extremists, and he's too extreme for the U.S. military. His words, not my words. In addition to everything I just said, and also just today we found out there's another sexual harassment claim against him. You know, birds of a feather. Three different wives, 7 kids. Apparently, when he was at Fox, before a cheating scandal was about to erupt, he went all in on MAGA. Have you noticed another trend? Russell Brand did the same thing, by the way. So this is the guy, folks, who might be Secretary of Defense, and he's very dangerous. He's good at television. He has good optics. He knows how to sell the vision, and he's aligned with white Christian nationalists, militias, and the most extreme type of ideology that believes this is a white Christian nation, and anyone who opposes it is the enemy. And Donald Trump, in the final month of his presidency, what did he say? We have to deal with the enemy from within, and if necessary, he will invoke the military and National Guard.
Correct. So let me read what is here, which is from Hegseth himself. While the post 9/11 generation of patriots spent 2 decades fighting enemies abroad, we allowed America's domestic enemies at home to gobble up cultural, political, and spiritual territory. Overextended, our rear guard was exposed and the enemy pounced. In parentheses, Republicans and conservatives at home did a really shitty job holding down the home front, to say the least. So here is what I want to echo that Waj just offered up, which is the fact that these people want to turn the most powerful military in the world not on defending America's standing or defending democracy around the world because they don't believe in it, but they want to turn the U.S. military on the American people, which is where MAGA believes the real terrorists lie, right? Which is in these deep pockets, quote unquote, of America, which is where they want to send the military. They are looking for war, and it is the reason why they want to expel who they refer to as woke generals, which is like an oxy-fucking-moron. Anyone that is aligned or has been aligned with Mark Milley and others that have come out against Donald Trump, they want to kick them out of the military so that what they have is a bunch of yes people, yes men, because they also want to get rid of women and they want to get rid of people of color and black people. And so this is what the future looks like. This is why, like I said at the top of the show, I find myself in moments of tears because of the fear that wells up that there are no guardrails to stop these people from running tanks into our communities and taking over under martial law or whatever other thing that they want to say. New York is filled with terrorists, they can say, and then issue martial law and we're all locked in our homes and they're purging, right? Like, this is what they want.
Well, Danielle, it's not hyperbole. I want to remind people that when BLM protesters, overwhelmingly peaceful, assembled in Washington, D.C., and remember General Milley was part of that photo group where Donald Trump dispersed the crowd and then he walked to the church and held the Bible upside down. General Milley apologized for it. Mark Esper, who was then a DHS secretary, said, who, by the way, the new DHS secretary is Kristi Noem. Hide your dogs, folks. Hide your dogs. Remember Mark Esper said that Donald Trump asked whether or not the military could shoot these protesters in the knees, and Esper was like, no. He says, why not? And then Trump also said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. And he wants to unleash the National Guard and the military against U.S. citizens, and he wants to invoke the Alien Enemies Act that detained and interned American citizens of Japanese descent. Well, that's why I'm so terrified. I just want to echo what you just said, because Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, Gaetz as head of the AG, Gabbard as head of DNI, and Noem as DHS Secretary combined together with what we know Trump wants, plus what he has said. I think this would be huge news. I'm glad you just kind of mentioned it, because there's so much shit. He wants to purge. He's openly saying, I'm going to purge 3-star, 4-star generals who are not loyal. And then Gaetz, it might be one of the most dangerous picks because Gaetz is vindictive as F. He's smart. He wants to go after all the Republicans and anyone else who went after him. A sex predator who is lawless is going to be the top cop in the nation enforcing our laws. That's Trump's presidency. So these people are going to purge the last, if you will, guardrail. Veterans, soldiers, generals, people who have like a fidelity to the Constitution and rule of law, and replace them with loyalists. And then Donald Trump also has said, when it comes to protests, because people are going to protest this shit, I want to invoke the Insurrection Act, unleashing the military to suppress protest. And then what are we going to do, Danielle? Sorry for that little rant. I just want to connect the dots for folks.
I mean, it's not a rant. It's important for people to understand. And this is why we say what is actually coming, right? And that the fact that we're in a place where we're praying that maybe they will be just as incompetent as they were the first time around, that infighting will break out and they won't be able to actually get to the things that they have said that they want to, like that just shows you what a dangerous position that we're in. But as we wrap up, because I know that we're way over time, but as we wrap up today, I want to throw up this photo because I want to talk about the absolute anger that I felt when I saw these pictures coming out of the White House of Joe Biden sitting with Donald Trump and the smiling photos of Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden with Donald Trump. We just spent the last 40 some odd minutes running down all the ways in which Donald Trump and this cabinet and their ideology is absolutely and incredibly dangerous and will be the undoing of America. And what Biden and Democrats have wanted to do is to create some type of fucking normalcy around this transition. And what I would want is for Joe Biden to be like, no, you are elected and you can come in on January 20th when you have been sworn in. I am not going to condone, welcome, or celebrate the fact that a man who has said that wants to be a dictator on day one and that has targeted my family and myself for years, that I'm going to sit down and fucking smile with you and think that that's going to provide some type of perception that we're all going to be on the mend. Like, are you stupid? And so, I appreciate Joe Biden's public service over the last 40 years, but it is this fucking weakness and complacency and bullshit that has us in this place in the first place. Because if Donald Trump was so fucking dangerous, as Democrats have been saying that he is, then tell me why the fuck you would welcome him in with open arms and smiles on your face to sit down in the Oval Office when you are still the president of the United States. If this man is a threat, right, to everything that we know and have known about this country over the close to 250 fucking years, you tell me why you would be sitting here and talking about a smooth transition when the person who made it so that we did not have a smooth transition is sitting right next to you. Miss me with it. So this is what Democratic weakness does. And this is why 7% of Democrats sat the fuck home in November, on November 5th, and didn't vote for Kamala Harris. That's the reason why.
But look at the cackling fire, Danielle. The only thing that matters is civility. We are the civil adults in the room. If someone wants to punch us in the face, we give them fellatio and then cookies and hot chocolate. That's what we do. The person who wants to kill us, we say, welcome. How are you? Do you want to kill us? Here's a target sign. I made it for you. I'm civil. And that Democratic Party that chooses civility above democracy, that chooses to perform civility before protecting the most marginalized, F them. I'm done. Retire. I'm done with you. Go away. Be the useless human skin that is Merrick Garland. I want to fire you into the sun. Retire into the sun. I'm sorry that I'm being so passionate about this. I can't believe that Biden did that, but I can believe Biden did that because he's still part of that old school mindset that we're going to drink rum and I'm going to pat you on the back. And then I'm going to say, hey, buddy, will you do a good job? And then Trump will say, sure. And then I'm going to be shocked when I turn around and he stabs me in the back. There's a young generation and a new generation, especially led by women and women of color, who realize the game, realize what's up, and are going to play. Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Elizabeth Warren. There's also people like Jamie Raskin. Unfortunately, we're stuck with the Schumers and Durbins and the Bidens and Rahm Emanuel now. Have you heard that? Rahm Emanuel wants to take over the DNC. I'm like, nope. Bye, Rahm Emanuel. You just go retire.
It's like Democrats can't help but recycle bullshit that should have been composted a long time ago. They can't help themselves.
I'm done with it. I'm like these mother effers are coming after our lives. These people are going to destroy people's lives. They're going to create camps. They're going to send. Literally, there's a whole litany of people that we haven't mentioned who's part of the cabinet. But one of the people is his new border czar. And I don't know if you saw this. I know we have to end it, but just give me a little second. Peter, what's his name? Homan, Thomas Homan, border czar. When interviewed on 60 Minutes, he said, well, you guys definitely aren't going to separate families. And you know what he said? We're not going to separate families.
No, we're going to deport them together.
We're going to deport the citizen kid with abuela and mom and pop. And with that, and RFK killing our kids and making measles great again, and them purging the DOJ, and them openly saying that Democrats are pedophiles and rapists who are part of an international cabal to make our kids transgender and or to make them into sexual slaves, you sit there and smile. I'm sorry, Danielle. Like, I have rage building. I don't want Kamala Harris or Joe Biden to go to the inauguration. Why? He's a criminal. He incited a violent insurrection.
They will, and this is why so many people, and we'll wrap up with this, but why so many people have come out and said
Danielle had to stop my Waj rant. That was good. That was good. The adult in the room.
We need a third party. We need a multi-party system. And I believe that for a strength in a multiracial democracy, we need more than two parties. Now, the fucking Jill Stein Green Party, that ain't it for me. But the reality is that Democrats are showing themselves in this grave moment of danger to have no urgency. No different urgency than they had in 2016 than they have in 2024, with 9 years under their belt of what Trumpism is and what it has been and what it's going to deliver into the future. They still want to preserve their institutions and preserve their face and preserve some sense of normalcy. We left normalcy in 2016. Right. And the fact is that the normalizing of Donald Trump vis-a-vis the media and the Democratic Party is why we find ourselves here in this moment right now. And so I will put this up because I think that it is, again, incredibly important for us to remember as things will become wonkier, as the world will be turned increasingly upside down, as our lives will be like we're living inside of a funhouse mirror of horrors. George Orwell said, in a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And that is what Waj and I are committed to doing for as long as we can, which is telling the hard truths. We are not here to entertain. We are not here to lie to folks. We are not taking corporate dollars as a way to, to pad our own pockets. This is why your donations and you showing up and liking and subscribing matters, because we here on this channel in this space are committed to the truth. We are committed to honesty. We are committed to keeping a sense of decency and refining our moral compass, right? And so if you are tuning out mainstream corporate media, you make sure to tell your friends that this is a safe space that they can come to. If you are ending your subscriptions at the New York Times and the LA Times and the Washington Post, then consider, right, spreading some of those resources across independent media platforms so that we have the resources to continue doing the work that we do, which is to tell the goddamn truth. So, dear friends, that is it for us today on Democracy-ish. I am Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat.
And we will be back next week. This becomes less and less funny if, in fact, we have a country left. Inshallah. Thank you all so very much. See you next week.